In the time that you and Mike have been together, have you ever known him to become pretty hot-headed about things? Have you ever lost his temper?
The detective is asking this question to try and present a pattern of Dunn being hot-headed to the jury, suggesting that him killing had nothing to do with self-defense and was rather him acting out of rage.
He, let's see, loses temper. No, not like loses temper, but he gets very passionate about things.
After the shooting, after you guys leave the gas station en route to the hotel, does he ever describe to you any type of guns that the guys in the truck had at him?
No.
Does he ever mention to you that anybody in the truck had a gun?
No, he did not.
He just said they threatened to kill him.
They threatened to kill him,
and then they made motions to
advance towards him.
Whatever that is. He didn't elaborate on what that motion was.
He wasn't specific.
This was a damning piece of evidence against Dunn. Just ask yourself this question. If someone said they were about to kill you, and you thought you saw that person get a gun, would you not mention that to the person you were with after the fact? This suggests that Dunn may have concocted the notion he thought he saw a gun way after the shooting as a story, so should he get arrested, he can use that story in his defense. Dunn claimed that he did tell Rauer, which was argued by the prosecution.
What other type of music does he have a problem with?
This is a very interesting question for the detective to be asking. It's clear they're trying to create an image of Dunn, a man with a short fuse, who had something against the music the teenagers were playing.
Why would you, this might, I know you didn't talk about it, but why do you think he didn't call police at that point?
The police may be hoping for her to say the reason she believes Dunn didn't call the police after the incident is because he thought he could try and get away with it.
What was it about?
I don't know what he was thinking.
Right.
But what I was thinking was a stupid thing had been done. They drove off, probably scared to death. We were driving off, scared as well. This will be chalked up to just a really stupid thing being done, and that was that.
Okay. But he didn't think, I mean, even along the line, I'm just trying to understand his thinking, even along the lines of, I don't think anybody's hurt.
Right.
But the fact that, he's just been involved in discharging his firearm at another vehicle.
Right.
That in and of itself could be enough to say, I'm just trying to understand why he wouldn't at least call and say, hey, look, I was shot in this car.
Right.
My bad.
Right.
Glad nobody's hurt. I'm just kind of trying to understand the reasoning. I mean, you know him better than obviously I do. What would be his reasoning for not wanting to just call us and say, hey, look, this is what happened.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to get an idea where his thought process would have been.
Right.
If you, and to your best of knowledge, because you know him.
Right.
Is it simply just the fact of he just figured, my bad, but, I mean, is it kind of one of those where he's waiting to see if we come knock on his door?
I would have to assume so.
Because maybe if we get up the next day and we haven't, because you're sitting there waiting for us, and then you're sitting there waiting for us, and you're sitting there, well, it's been, 4 or 5 hours now, they haven't come. Maybe we can just go home tomorrow and we can forget about it and move on with our lives.
Exactly.
Okay.
I dream about you all the time.
I dream about you too.
I try not to think about all the stuff I'm missing out on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I try not to tell you anything. Don't cry, baby. Please don't cry.
I miss you so much.
I miss you too.
Sure happy to see you, though.
I'm happy to see you.
I'm regretful that it happened, but I absolutely, I replayed it over and over, and I can't.
You need to. I love you, though.
The only person at fault here isn't with us anymore. It's 100% on Jordan, 100%. I don't even take a 0.5%. I mean, he made that happen. Everything about that was on him.
You're going to be coming home. You're going to be coming home. All right, baby? I love you so much.
Hey, baby.
Hey, honey.
How you doing?
Not too good.
Oh, what's the matter?
I don't feel good today.
I'm hoping against hope that I stay healthy in here.
How was your day?
I slept all day.
I transferred $1,500 from our banking or bills account into my account to cover bills. And tomorrow, honestly, when I'm feeling better, because right now I'm just like I'm feeling very nauseous.
Sure, I understand.
Mike, I don't know what the I'm doing. I seriously don't know. Hold on a second. Somebody wants to say hi.
Hey, buddy. Hey, Charlie. Being a good boy for Mommy?
He's not being very loud. I'm trying to work with him as far as getting, like, commands and being specific, like you told me to, no Charlie. I have made my New Year's resolution already that I cannot put my head in the sand and pretend that this situation is not going on.
Right.
I can't assume that it's just going to get done unless I do it. I promise you, babe, I'm gonna be there for you, and I know I haven't been, proven to be the strongest person. I feel ashamed sometimes.
I wouldn't worry about it. You're doing what nobody else can. You're giving me a reason to hang on. And I'm being really optimistic that as soon as I get out, I'll be able to start back up at HP.
Okay.
Because, administrative leave isn't terminated.
Right.
And then we'll just be real frugal.
Yeah.
For once. Well, if it's like everything else, I'm going to be in this stupid uniform with shackles on and embarrassed because all my friends are there.
The legal system is not set up for, people like you. So, I know you're innocent, baby. I know you did something that you wish you hadn't had to do, but you did what you had to do. And, so, I know.
I was thinking about that today. It's like, I'm the fucking victim here. I was the one who was victimized. I don't know how else to put it. Like, they attacked me. I'm the victim. I'm the victor, but I was the victim too.
So what's going through Michael Dunn's mind? Well, maybe the graffiti inside his jail cell holds the answer.
Those who kill in self-defense treasure life, rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Self-defense is not a crime, and 2 Florida statutes regarding self-defense. Those are just a few of the quotes and drawings investigators photographed on the wall of Michael Dunn's jail cell last December. Dr. Will Meadows, a forensic psychologist, says no one can definitely say the drawings are Dunn's, but they offer some insight if they are.
Could reflect that the individual's strongly fixated on his case and feels strong conviction for the defense that he's taken, to the point to where he feels it needs to express it through some form of artwork on his cell.
There are more quotes. Government assistance destroys ambition. Say farewell to welfare, work hard and be happy. Then a word brought up during Dunn's trial, thug. It appears on a sign crossed out, and in quotes, the thug life is no way to live. And not all liars are thugs, but all thugs are liars or have bad memories.
Certainly, one hypothesis would be that there may be prejudicial stereotypes. How that relates to the case, I don't know. It may be related to the case. It may be related to the environment that Mr. Dunn was placed in and the experiences that he had there.
There are other images, a lightning bolt, a Celtic knot, an interwoven image with the words justice, liberty, equality, and freedom.
Dunn's trial was fascinating in a variety of ways due to the wide amount of footage that was available, unlike many other cases. On day one, both the prosecution and the defense would make their opening statements.
As they had been so many times before, the two best friends were side by side. Jordan Davis and Leland Brunson, sitting in the back seat of a friend's SUV in the middle of a holiday weekend of mall hopping and girl shopping. But this moment was unlike any other the two best friends had ever spent. Bullets, 9 of them, had come crashing through the glass and metal surrounding them. Some of the bullets had whizzed by their heads, in the heads of 2 other teenagers who were in the car. Some of the bullets had been stopped by the metal in the doors. But some of the bullets were unaccounted for. And so 4 terrified teenagers began an ominous roll call. Tommy, Tevin, Leland, Jordan. Everybody responded to the sound of their name, except Jordan Davis. He was lying in the back seat with his head in Leland Brunson's lap. Unbeknownst to any of them, 3 of those bullets had found their target. One of them had entered his right leg. One of them had entered his left leg. And one of them had entered his right side, tore through his liver, passed through both of his lungs, and shredded his aorta. And then the blood that for 17 years had run so naturally through Jordan Davis's veins and arteries was pouring out of them. And so the two best friends were side by side for the last time. Jordan Davis, gasping for air, was taking his last breaths of life. He didn't call the police. He went to his hotel with his girlfriend, and he called a pizza delivery man and ordered a pizza. He took his little dog for a walk outside the hotel, turned on a movie, and made himself a big, tall rum and coke. And not long after, an emergency doctor at Shands Hospital pronounced Jordan Davis dead. That defendant put his head on his hotel pillow and went to sleep. But ladies and gentlemen, as you are about to learn, there are some things that defendant will never, ever be able to run from. The physical evidence, the bullet trajectory through the car and through Jordan Davis's body, that will prove to you beyond any doubt that when that defendant opened fire, Jordan Davis was sitting in his car seat with the door closed, with nothing in his hands. And ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this trial, Judge Healy will read to you the law that applies to all of us, the laws that apply to each of us. And we are confident that after you hear the evidence in all of it, that you will know beyond any doubt in your head, in your heart, in your gut, that when that defendant pointed that pistol at the car full of unarmed teenagers and started and continued to pull the trigger, he was guilty of shooting into an occupied vehicle, guilty of 3 counts of attempted murder, and guilty of the first-degree murder of Jordan Davis. Thank you.
for your time. What you hear from this witness stand, what you see with your own eyes, with the state's witnesses, is evidence. And as Mr. Guy put it, real inconsistencies is real life every day. Well, every day, people aren't on a trial for crimes they didn't commit. Mr. Guy told you what he believes the evidence is going to show. And again, he could say it as slowly and softly as he wants. But the judge is going to instruct you the law is you can't use sympathy, empathy, anger, bias, or prejudice. Now, what did you hear Mr. Guy say? The first person to get upset, and the evidence is going to show that the only person that cursed was Jordan Davis. And his words to Michael Dunn were, "I'm going to fucking kill you." And the gentleman in that car will admit to you on that stand under oath that the music was so loud, it was rattling the windows, the mirrors. They couldn't even hear themselves talk. He just had somebody threaten his life, display a weapon, try to exit a vehicle and say, "This shit's going down now, bitch." And for the first time in his life, he has to use a firearm to defend himself. And Mr. Dunn is extremely confident that if you do keep an open mind, do not let sympathy or anger or bias creep into that decision. Be bound by your duty as a juror and bound the jurors next to you to do the same. The facts of this case, with the law, there's only one just and lawful verdict, and that verdict will be not guilty.
What did you, when you pulled in, where was the red Dodge Durango parked?
Where I've indicated here on the, away from where I parked.
Okay. When you pulled up, was there an open spot to the right of the red Dodge Durango?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
And next to that open spot, can you describe what that area is? And we'll be showing you a photograph in a moment, but can you go ahead and describe it for the jury?
Yes, ma'am, there's a grass area, and then there's a sidewalk that goes into the front of the gate gas station.
Tell these jurors why you didn't pull into that empty spot next to the sidewalk.
I heard the loud music. Didn't want to deal with it.
This was an example of a sensible way that Dunn could have handled the situation. This man subsequently displayed situational awareness, which I previously alluded to in relation to this case. And as a result of this, the man currently taking the stand is not looking at the prospect of multiple convictions.
Are you currently incarcerated in the Florida State Prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell these jurors the circumstances of your incarceration.
On March and April of 2013, not only did I steal gold from a family member of mine and sold it, I also broke into a house of a lady friend of my grandmother's, sold gold from there too.
Tell them why you did that.
I was homeless. I had trying to get to Illinois to a place where I could live, have a house, and get a job.
Did you admit to those crimes?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did you get convicted as a felon of those crimes?
Unfortunately, yes.
By whose office were you prosecuted?
Clay County, in your office.
Okay. How many felonies did you plead to?
25.
Were they all connected to those same instances that you just described to the jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they different counts, but all involving the same instances?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And were you sentenced by a Clay County judge?
Yes, ma'am.
To what term of prison?
7 years.
All right. All of this occurred after November of 2012. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Prior to your incarceration, or I guess we'll go with the arrest. When were you first arrested for the crimes that led to your incarceration?
May 4th, 2013.
Okay. Prior to that time, where were you living? Did you hear the lady say anything to the driver?
I didn't hear her say anything, but the look on her face said enough.
All right. What did the look on her face say to you? Describe it.
Horror.
Horror?
Horror.
Okay. And did you hear the driver that you had seen shooting, could you hear him say anything to her?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, did you then, what happened then? I'm sorry, strike that. Did you ever get out of your car at that point?
No, ma'am.
Did you get out of your car immediately after you saw the young lady get into the dark car?
Not until they drove off.
All right. Did you watch them drive off?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do?
I turned around and got the license plate number.
What made you turn around and get that license plate number?
I don't know. I guess instinct. Something told me that's what I should do.
This goes to show that although a person can make mistakes, there can still be hope for a person.
All right. And did you memorize that license plate number?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. How did the shooter drive off?
Fast. They drove off the same direction as the Durango. With a little bit of speed.
Good morning, Mr. Dunn. How are you?
Good morning. Fine, thanks.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, good morning. I'm Michael Dunn, D-U-N-N.
And how old are you?
I'm 47.
And what line of work are you in?
I'm a computer programmer, like software developer.
Okay. And how long had you been with Miss Rauer?
At that time, 3.5, 4 years.
Okay.
It's like May of 08 when we started going out.
Okay. Did you have a serious relationship with her?
Absolutely. She's my fiance.
Okay. Were you living with her at the time?
Yes, we were.
Dunn is presenting himself as a kind, caring, emotional person. He could genuinely be upset at the mentioning of better times, or alternatively, his lawyer could have instructed him to display these emotions when in front of the jury in order to paint a better picture of himself. You'll see Dunn also go on to seemingly display profound love for his dog. Whether this is genuine, embellished, or outright fake, I'll leave you to decide.
Was this dog kind of your guy's child?
Yes.
Okay. And what was his name?
His name is Charlie. Very soon after, I start hearing things like F him and F that and I didn't know what it was at first. But when he says, yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill you, I look and I'm looking at a barrel. He's showing me a gun and he's threatening me.
Notice how much more assertive Dunn is being here, that he saw a barrel compared to his police interview, where he was far less assertive that he saw a gun.
When you began to shoot, can you honestly tell us that you ever saw a gun inside that vehicle?
I saw a barrel come up on the window, like a single shot shotgun where there's a barrel. I didn't see this part of the barrel, I saw that part of the barrel. And it was either a barrel or a stick.
This is because he is now being advised by his lawyer. Unfortunately for Dunn, the jury has the benefit of seeing his interview with the police, making what he says here appear far less genuine.
Okay. And again, you said it was only a few inches of that barrel?
Yeah, I'm estimating 4.
Okay. And again, at that point, did you grab your firearm?
I did not.
Okay. Did you have any words back in terms of retaliation?
No, I was in fear for my life, and I was probably stunned.
Okay. At that point, how did that make you feel? Had anyone ever pointed a gun at you or even said the words I'm going to
I'd never been threatened, let alone threatened with a firearm before. Not threatened with death.
Okay. And at this point, in terms of your mental processes, could you even imagine it would escalate to that point over asking someone to lower their radio?
I was incredulous.
Excuse me for my ignorance. What does incredulous mean?
I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing.
Okay. And were you frozen in that seat?
I was.
Okay. At that point, what did you believe was about to happen to you?
I thought I was going to be killed.
Did you even think he might even be able to get a shot off?
Yes, I did.
Now, in your mind, did you think he was just going to get out to yell at you some more?
No, this is the point where my death is imminent. He's coming to kill me. He's coming to beat me. I'm not real sure what his intentions are. Actually, he made it very clear what his intentions were.
But again, you only know what you're being told and what you see.
Yes, and not having any doubts at all between his threats and his actions that is a gun in the window.
Okay.
Mr. Dunn, you love Rhonda Rower.
Yes, sir, I do.
Right? You love her a lot, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you loved her back then, correct?
I love her today.
November 23rd, 2012, you were in love with her.
Yes, sir.
You cared about her.
Yes, sir.
Right. And when she got into that car, she asked you what happened, right?
Yes, sir.
And you told this jury you explained it to her, right?
Yes, I did.
And she, as you said, was a wreck, right?
Yes, she was.
Because she knew that you had just fired into a car with human beings inside.
She doesn't understand self-defense, but you are right. She was very upset over what I had done.
Right, right. And so you guys were together for 3 miles and she was hysterical?
Crying, yes.
Right. You did not tell her during that 3 miles anyone pointed any weapon at you, did you?
I think I did. I think I was very clear that they threatened my life. I was very clear that they came out of their car advancing upon me. And whether she comprehended what I was saying, I couldn't say.
My question was, did you tell her they had a weapon of any kind?
Yes, I did.
You did. What did you tell her? To tell the jury the term that you used to describe the weapon.
I don't know what I said, but I told her that they had a weapon, they threatened my life, and he advanced upon me.
Well, how'd you describe the weapon? Did you say they had a sword? Did you say they had a machete?
Gun.
A gun. You used the word gun with Rhonda Rower.
Yes, I did.
When?
Multiple times.
Sir, are you telling this jury that on the way back to the hotel, you told Rhonda Rower that the boys in the car had a gun?
If I told her on the way to the hotel, I told her several times at the hotel, I told her several times on the way home that this was self-defense.
That wasn't my question.
Well, the whole conversation revolved around gun, threat. They came out of the car at me, so it wasn't just they had a gun. Because when he just had a gun, I didn't shoot him. It wasn't until he made specific threats and got out of his car and came after me.
Okay,
So all of that was part of the conversation.
All right. I'm going to take this in little tiny increments now, so follow me. From the time you left the gate station to the time you got back to the Sheraton, how many times did you use the word gun to describe what the boys, let me finish, what the boys in the car had?
I couldn't tell you.
Was it more than one?
At least one.
Okay. And when you got back to the hotel, she was still a wreck, right?
That's correct.
She was upset.
That's correct.
She didn't even go into the room, right? She was sitting out by the elevator.
She went into the room to change, and then we went out to the club room.
Right, and she, as she testified, was waiting for the police to come, right?
Well, we were waiting for the red SUV to come. Now, that's what I was waiting for. I couldn't tell you what she was waiting for, but that was the sentiment that I understood, that she was waiting for retaliation.
Okay, and we'll get back to that, the SUV. How many times during that time did you tell her they had a gun?
I don't think we discussed it because we were in a public area.
Okay, well, you did go back to your room, correct?
I'm talking about in the club room.
I understand. Now I'm talking about you go back to your room, right?
Right.
She was still a wreck.
Yes, she was.
Okay, tell the members of the jury how many times you said to her they had a gun.
At least once.
And when she woke up, she heard that somebody had been killed, right?
Yes, she did.
Okay, tell the jury how many times you told her at that point, don't worry, honey, they had a gun.
I didn't say that.
The truth is, Mr. Dunn, you never told Rhonda Rower ever that they had a gun.
That's incorrect.
Hang on. Counsel testifying as the truth is this, was asking the question.
Cross-examination, Mr. Strilla, overruled.
Mr. Dunn, the truth is, you never told the love of your life that those boys had a gun.
You weren't there.
Did you? You did tell her then?
I said you were not there.
I get that. I know that. The truth is, you didn't tell her about a gun, did you?
Whilst it's not definitive of guilt, it would no doubt be concerning to the jury that there are numerous inconsistencies regarding Dunn and Rower's version of events. From when the music was playing when Dunn and Rower pulled up, to whether Dunn called the music thug music, to whether Dunn mentioned that the teenagers had a gun. All of these inconsistencies will no doubt not cause the jury to look favourably upon Dunn.
But the truth is, sir, you lied to the police, didn't
How
you?
so?
Well, they asked you specifically, was the music playing when you pulled up? And you said no. Do you remember that?
I do, and I don't remember the heavy bass being an issue when we first pulled up.
Okay, but that's not what they asked you. They asked you, was the music playing when
Right,
you pulled
and
up?
it wasn't. I mean, if they had music on, it wasn't heavy bass where I would notice it.
Okay, but it was loud enough to be thug music, right?
That's how what Rhonda characterized. I don't recall saying that.
You don't recall saying, I hate that thug music?
No, if I would have said anything, I would have called it rap crap. Thug music isn't a term I would use.
So Miss Rower got that wrong?
I wasn't gonna say anything about it, but I don't recall saying that, and that's not a term I would use.
Okay, but I mean, she wasn't upset when y'all were at the gate station, right? When you pulled
No,
in.
but realize there's a lot of trauma afterwards, and she could have imagined something.
She could have imagined it. You could have imagined a gun, correct?
Anything's possible, sir. It's just not likely. Like I said, between his threats and actions, they were reinforcing what my eyes were telling me. But as we've learned, they didn't check the scene.
And but you said at that time it could have been a stick.
Yeah, and again, 2 hours of sleep, I misspoke. I mean, a stick doesn't really do justice to it. Picture anything that looks like a barrel, something with a metal patina right around the same thickness of a shotgun barrel.
And isn't it true that the detective said at some point, is it possible it was your imagination? And you said yes.
No, I did not. I started to say that anything is possible, but not likely. And it certainly wasn't my imagination that he came out of the car.
You don't like that music, do you?
It's not my style, but you know, when I was a kid, my folks didn't like rock and roll.
And so you thought that the best thing to do is to flee.
Or leave. To leave the area.
And you did have your cell phone with you.
Pardon?
You did have your cell phone with you.
Yeah, my cell phone was set on Google Maps, directions to the hotel, but yes, I did.
Okay, but it doesn't take long to get that off, does it? Don't you just push the button?
No.
And you are familiar with 911, are you not?
Yes, I am.
3 digits, right?
Yes, sir.
You didn't call the police, did you?
No, never did.
You didn't call the police at the store, right?
I didn't call the police at all until the following morning.
That didn't go through your head, like maybe I just shot at somebody because they pointed a gun at me, I should call the police?
You know, you're right, it sounds crazy, and I couldn't tell you what I was thinking when all this happened. I can just tell you that I didn't do it. And if you had told me that if this happened to you, you wouldn't call the police, I wouldn't believe you. But that's what happened.
But, I mean, you were upset when you left the store, right?
I was in a panic.
Right. And then you got back to the hotel.
Yes,
right?
That's where we went, like our sanctuary.
Right. And you didn't call the police at the hotel, did you?
Nope, same logic or lack of reasoning. It's just what we did.
Mr. Dunn, the reason you left the gas station is because you knew you had shot into a car of 4 unarmed teenagers.
That's incorrect.
So you go back to the hotel and you go inside.
Yes.
You take your phone with you?
I believe I did.
Did you call the police from the safety of your hotel room?
No, as I said, I didn't call the police until the following morning for reasons I couldn't explain why.
And I think you said earlier, and I asked you to pause, that you spent the time looking down, waiting for the red SUV to come back. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it was like a waking nightmare.
Hold on. Did you sit in that hotel and look down
At the club room, yeah.
And wait for the red SUV? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking down at traffic, and just my waking nightmare is that they would come by.
Yeah. I mean, the SUV had pulled off, right?
Yeah, I didn't know where they went. I didn't see it again.
You didn't follow the SUV.
No.
They didn't follow you.
I had no knowledge. I mean, it was...
So you just
I certainly hoped that they hadn't.
So you just thought that somehow they were going to find out where you parked at your hotel.
I know it's not rational. I admit that. That's why I said it was my waking nightmare.
And because you thought this car full of gangsters was going to come back, you decided to park in the front of the hotel, right?
I don't recall where I parked.
But did Miss Rower's testimony refresh your recollection? She said y'all parked in the front.
If that's where she said, we may have parked there, but I didn't consciously park there.
And you put, you left your gun in the glove box, right?
Yeah, that was Rhonda's idea, because I was going to take it, and she is like, just kind of weirded out about everything, so I took the time to safe it and put it in the glove box.
Right.
The prosecutor raises a good point that definitely serves to weaken Dunn's plausibility that he thought the teenagers were going to follow him back to the hotel. If Dunn genuinely thought that the teenagers were following him back, 1, he would have most likely wanted his gun to be on him as a means to protect himself and Rower. And 2, he would have most likely not have left the gun unattended in the car, whether it was on safety or not. This is because if Dunn truly believed that the teenagers were following him and Rower back to the hotel, then if the car was unattended, he would not have wanted the teenagers to break into his car and have access to his gun.
Because you knew nobody was behind you.
Well, I didn't know anything, and like I said, the fear while we were up in the club room, I agree it was irrational, but this is what we were experiencing.
And when you were at the hotel room, you didn't call 911.
I didn't call the police until the following morning.
You called the pizza man, right?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that. I wanted to get something for Rhonda to eat to calm her upset stomach.
I'm going to come back to that. You told the police that one of the reasons you left the station was you were in a strange town.
Right.
In a strange area.
Right.
Even though you lived off that very same road for 2 years.
Again, this is very damaging to Dunn's defense. Ask yourself this question. If you had lived somewhere for 2 years, would you describe it to someone as a strange town?
Yeah, like 15 years ago, none of it was familiar.
After a 2-year period, it wasn't familiar to you?
Not really. I went from that apartment to the NAS, and I knew from the apartment to the highway.
Did the defendant say anything about the music when he parked the car next to the red car?
Yes.
And what did the defendant say?
I hate that thug music.
And what was your response to the defendant?
I said, yes, I know.
What time, Ms. Rower, did you wake up the following morning?
About 7 o'clock.
Where was the defendant when you woke up?
In the bathroom.
When you woke up, was the television on?
Yes, it was.
And did you happen to see something on the news?
Yes, I did.
At that point in time, did you learn that a teenager had been killed at the Gate gas station?
Yes, I did.
Although we're all different and react to the same situation in a different way, it's clear that Rower is far more emotionally affected by the events that unfolded than Dunn.
Did you then tell the defendant that you wanted to go home?
Yes, I did.
And why did you decide that you all needed to go home?
Because I thought I was going to be arrested too. I wanted to get Charlie taken care of.
All right, we have verdicts in counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have the verdict form in count 1. There are no markings on it, but I will provide it to the clerk for the record. And based on the jury's inability to reach a verdict as to count 1, I will declare that mistried, and we will talk about how we will proceed with regard to that in a moment. The other verdict forms are in order. I'll give them to the clerk for publishing.
In the Circuit Court of the 4th Judicial Circuit in and for Duval County, Florida, in case number 16-2012 CF 011572 AXXXMA, Division CRD, the State of Florida versus Michael David Dunn. Verdict is to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder, a lesser included offense. We find that the defendant discharged a firearm during the commission of the offense. Verdict is to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder, a lesser included offense. We find that the defendant discharged a firearm during the commission of the offense. Verdict is to count 4. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder, a lesser included offense. We find that the defendant discharged a firearm during the commission of the offense. Verdict is to count 5. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of shooting or throwing deadly missiles as charged in the indictment. So say we all, done in Jacksonville, Duval County, Florida. Juror number 7, 4-person, dated February 15th, 2014.
Does anybody need the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 1, are these your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror number 3, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 4, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 5, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 6, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 7, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror number 8, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror number 10, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror number 11, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror number 12, are these your true and correct verdicts? Thank you.
Although convicted for 4 counts, Dunn still needed to have a retrial for the charge of first-degree murder on Jordan Davis. A jury was selected and the trial took place. On the 1st of October 2014, Dunn was found guilty of first-degree murder on Jordan Davis.
All right, Madam Clerk, you'll publish the verdict, please.
In the Circuit Court of the 4th Judicial Circuit in and for Duval County, Florida, case number 2012 CF 11572, the State of Florida versus Michael David Dunn. Verdict: we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. We find that the defendant discharged a firearm causing death in the commission of the offense. So say we all, then at Jacksonville, Duval County, Florida, October 1st, 2014.
Does anybody want the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
And
Juror
again,
number 1, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 2, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 3, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 5, was this
Yes.
your verdict? Juror number 6, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 7, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 8, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 9, was this your verdict? Yes. Juror number 10, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 11, was this your verdict? Yes. Juror number 12, was this your verdict?
Yes.
13.
Juror number 13, was this your verdict?
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me again thank you for your hard work and dedication during the course of this case. We can never express how grateful we are for your work, your time, your consideration, and your dedication. It's been a long 10 days, and obviously you recognize that your jury service was your civic duty, and you've embraced it, and I thank you for that. I've observed you throughout the course of the case and over this last week and a half, and you have performed your duties with the utmost of professionalism. You are why we have the greatest justice system in the world, so thank you on behalf of everyone here in Jacksonville for your service. Before I release you, though, I want to read to you one more instruction because you have distinct privileges as jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about their discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. Your decisions then as to whether or not you will speak about this case with anyone obviously is an individual decision. It is not one that requires the vote of the group. Please remember, however, that my order regarding your confidentiality remains in effect, and it will remain in effect until further order of the court. So I ask you, if you do decide to speak with anyone about the case, that you please not identify any of your fellow jurors. Because of the publicity that has surrounded this case, I've been asked to advise you that if you wish to speak to the media today, the court administrator will escort you to an adjacent courtroom, so you will be allowed to be interviewed there if that were your desire. As I understand it, the interview can be conducted on or off camera, and I believe it can either be recorded or just a verbal interview with reporters. At the conclusion of your interview, the court administrator will then escort you back to an area where you can then gather your belongings that you have here today, and then of course we'll get you back to your hotel to gather your belongings and get you to your vehicles so that you can go on home. If you wish to be interviewed at this time, when you step out of the jury room, you can inform the bailiff and the court administrator, and they will accompany you to that adjacent courtroom. Keep in mind that if you do that, you are opening yourself up to the possibility of future contact. So I ask you to consider that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you for your willingness to be a part of our justice system and for your dedicated service in this case. At this time, you are released. Please have a safe trip home. Thank you, and God bless. Is a parent's worst nightmare. And Mr. Dunn, your life is effectively over. The jury found that you senselessly and deliberately took a life and attempted to take 3 others. In the process, you ruined your life and detrimentally and permanently damaged the life of many others. What is sad is, and what is something that we judges see, is that this case demonstrates and exemplifies that our society seems to have lost its way, its moral compass, if you will, and what is right and what is wrong on many different levels. Our thoughts and discussions ought to be about how we should treat one another. It's not whether we can do something or act in a certain way, or that we have a right in our minds to do it, but whether it's proper, sensible, prudent, necessary, and native. We hear people talk about and debate the right to stand your ground. And there's such a huge misunderstanding among the general public about that term. Self-defense, justification, justifiable homicide and excusable homicide are very complicated legal doctrines and laws. Laws that differ from state to state. And while that debate will continue, I'm sure, we should remember there's nothing wrong with retreating or de-escalating the situation. Mr. Dunn, this tragedy could have and should have been avoided. How you went from a joyous time of the wedding of your son and the time it took you to drive from Orange Park, Florida to the intersection of Bay Meadows and Southside Boulevard and kill someone is something people will never understand. Before I pronounce sentence, however, I do want to mention a couple of things, and Mr. Davis alluded to it. The first is a positive, I guess, that we can take away from this horrible and tragic event, and that is that our justice system works. Some criticize our system, but this case demonstrates that our justice system does work, and while it may not be perfect, as nothing is, it is the greatest and most fair system in the world. And while this was demonstrated in this case in our community and beyond, let it be known that our system works like this every week, every month, throughout every year here in Jacksonville. It's not just with this case, it's with many, many cases that are not reported on or covered as this one was. Additionally, to demonstrate how our system works, our citizens, you, your friends, your neighbors, while initially not always thrilled or anxious to come down to serve as a juror, once here, those folks understand jury service is their civic duty, and they take that duty seriously and embrace it. They embrace the opportunity to be not just a part of our justice system, but the backbone of our justice system. Both juries in this case, made up of different genders, ages, races, and ethnic backgrounds, came together and spoke with one voice. As Mr. Davis suggested and alluded to, they did not allow race to become a factor. So I want to thank those jurors, some of which are here again today, for their service in this case, and to all the other citizens of Jacksonville who come down each and every. Mr. Dunn, would you please stand?
Your Honor, if it please the court, I'd like to approach and make an oral motion about it.
No, sir, you may not.
Need to make a motion about this crime, sir. It's an oral motion, that's the law. You're violating the law right now. Thank you.
Mr. Dunn, you having been found guilty by a jury of your peers on February the 15th, 2014 as to counts 2, 3, and 4 of the indictment, attempted second-degree murder, which is a first-degree felony punishable by a maximum of 30 years in the Florida State Prison and carrying a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence. And you having been found guilty by the same jury of count 5, shooting into an occupied vehicle, a second-degree felony punishable by a maximum of 15 years. I hereby adjudicate you guilty of each of those 4 offenses. As to count 2, the attempted second-degree murder of Tevin Thompson, I hereby sentence you to serve 30 years in the Florida State Prison with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence. As to count 3, attempted second-degree murder of Leland Brunson, I hereby sentence you to serve 30 years in the Florida State Prison with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence. This sentence will run consecutively to the sentence imposed in count 2. As to count 4, attempted second-degree murder of Tommy Storms, I hereby sentence you to serve 30 years in the Florida State Prison with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence. This sentence will run consecutively with the sentences imposed in counts 2 and 3. As to count 5, shooting into an occupied vehicle, I hereby sentence you to serve a term of 15 years in the Florida State Prison. This sentence will run concurrently with the sentence imposed in count 4. Mr. Dunn, you having been found guilty by a jury of your peers on October 1st, 2014, of premeditated murder in the first degree of Jordan Davis,
which carries a minimum mandatory life sentence without parole. I hereby sentence you to serve that minimum mandatory life sentence without the eligibility for parole. This sentence will run consecutively to the sentences imposed in counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. I will impose the applicable court costs of $616, the $150 regional conflict counsel lien. I will reserve your...
Dunn's attorney would go on to file an appeal with the First District Court of Appeal for the state of Florida. This was denied on the 17th of November 2016. Dunn filed another appeal, which was rejected on the 22nd of June 2020 by the Florida Supreme Court, who refused to take the case. This case highlights the deadly cost of making a snap decision and not thinking, only reacting. Admittedly, the loud music would be irritating to many, including a witness who testified in court. However, unlike Dunn, that witness did the sensible thing by parking somewhere else and as a result avoided conflict. 5 to 10 minutes of irritation is far more preferable to life in prison without parole, which I'm sure Dunn realizes at this point. Most tragically of all, a young man called Jordan Davis is no longer with us, and with better decision making on the part of Dunn, that could have easily been avoided.